Hi there, it's Angela Critters. Welcome to my channel. A lot of you have heard of Impossible pies. They've been around since the 50s, maybe even the 40s, soon as Bisquick came out, and it makes its own crust. Well, Bisquicks always put recipes on the back of their boxes, but in the 70s they started putting wholemeal recipes on the back, and I found what we're going to make today. It is an Impossible cheeseburger pie. And we've got the ingredients assembled. It's so simple to make. Takes a total of 15 minutes to make. That includes cooking the meat and the onion and browning it. Then, of course, you put it in the oven and bake it for about 30 minutes. So let's get started, and I'll show you exactly what ingredients I'm using. So I've got my ground beef. You use 1 pound of lean meat. If you're using beef, no more than 80% fat. We've got 1 large onion we're going to chop up. I've got a cup of milk. I've got half a cup of the Bisquick. I've got 2 room temperature eggs, half of a teaspoon of salt, and we're going to be grating about 1 cup of cheddar cheese. So when you take a bite, you're going to swear you're eating a cheeseburger. And the reason that these are called Impossible pies is they're just so impossibly easy. And if you follow my channel, you know how I like to give easy recipes for novice bakers. Well, this is an easy recipe for a novice cook. The only equipment you need is a pie pan. If you get a frozen pie from the grocery store, save the pie tin. It's a pie pan. So I wanted you to see what the Impossible pie looks like when it cooks. So I'm using my mother's Pyrex pan that she got when she was a bride in 1950. And I don't use it that often, but I want to be able to see through it. So we're going to get started. So I'm using Beyond Beef. I'm a vegetarian and my husband isn't allowed to have red meat for health reasons. But like I said, you use your favorite meat, whatever it may be. So I've got my meat cooking in a little bit of butter with avocado oil because this has avocado oil in it. So I've got half tablespoon of butter, and that was half a tablespoon of the avocado oil. And I'm going to throw in my onion, and the recipe does call for a large onion. I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And just as if this was real ground beef, you kind of mash it up because I want to get all of it flavored. Now, of course, you can always add something if you like it on your hamburger to this. You can add jalapenos. Anything that you would put on a hamburger, you could throw in here. I just like to show people the basic recipe, and then you get creative and make it your own. Some people like grilled mushrooms in a cheeseburger. I love this dish, and I'm not a real fan of the Beyond Meats because I just don't like the texture of meat, but this tastes so good. Okay, we're going to let this start to brown for about 8 to 10 minutes now. So while this is browning, I'm going to go ahead and grate my cheese up real quick. And I'm throwing meat. I might turn mine down just a little bit. I have a tendency to burn things. It's a bad habit. I did have this a little too hot. It should be cooking over a medium heat because we're going to need all of these onions to cook and run clear. And of course we want the meat to be a light brown, crumbly. I pulled out my trusty greedle. Oh, it's not a greedle, it's a geedle. There's no R. I love this thing. I just got a cup of cheese grated in under a minute. I'm using a little bit of onion powder because the fake Beyond Meat, without the fat, it just doesn't have the flavor of real meat. So I have to add some kind of spice. So I usually add something like a little bit of onion powder, tiny bit of salt. I like to whisk my eggs first. The meat's almost ready, so we're going to get the Impossible part made up. Now we're going to put in our half of a cup of the Bisquick and our cup of milk. And don't forget the half of a teaspoon of salt. There you go. Sorry, I don't measure, but it's half a teaspoon. Get your pie pan sprayed or buttered. All right, my meat is ready. Now, if you're using ground turkey, ground chicken, or beef, and you've got some grease, you would drain it off. I don't have any grease on mine because of the fact that it was Beyond Meat. They just don't get greasy. So we spread this out. Then we're going to cover this with our cheddar cheese. And then pour over our Bisquick mix. Can you believe it? It's almost made. How quick it is and easy and so good. So in 1983, they made a cookbook called No Time to Cook, and it was a Bisquick cookbook, and I've got the cookbook, and I looked for it everywhere, and I couldn't find it. I'm ashamed to say I have almost 1,000 cookbooks. They're in their own room down off of our garage, and I just looked for a while, and I finally gave up, but that Bisquick cookbook, oh man. And so this was one of the stars of that cookbook, and everyone that made it loved it. Well, not everyone. Everyone I know that made it loved it. So the original recipe said to use 1 cup of cheese. But I've always used an 8-ounce block, and I almost used the whole thing because see how I like to bring the cheese out all the way to the edges? It can't taste like a cheeseburger if you don't have the cheese. So that was 1 cup, which is what the recipe calls for. And you see how we're seeing the spotty places? So as long as you've got that 8-ounce block you got for this, go ahead and use the whole thing. We're going to press it down just a little bit to make room for everything that's going to be in this little 9-inch pan. And then we're going to pour on our Bisquick. And you see how it thickened up? I need to beat it just a little bit more. And hot out of the oven. It smells great. So we're going to let it cool. And then I'm going to stick a knife in and make sure that it's cooked first. Let's see. Perfect, perfect, perfect. This really did not need a deep dish pan. I had extra large eggs. I was thinking about it. I never made this in an extra large pan because look, it barely even made a mess. That little bit of milk that poured over. I wish you could smell that. Isn't it a pretty thing? So this is a really quick dish. You could prep the meat the night before and put it in the refrigerator, and you could have this whole thing made in about 35 minutes. So thanks for watching, and I hope you like it. If you make it, it's just so easy, so simple, and children absolutely love it. I put a little bit of cayenne pepper on top of mine because I'm not all there. I like cayenne pepper on everything. It's so good. I also have a recipe for a Impossible lasagna from 1981. Oh, it's so good too. Well, thanks so much for watching. And I